make some chocolate chunk cookies today. Not chocolate chip. We're gonna have big old chunks of chocolate, and it's gonna make the cookies awesome. One of the things that really makes it a little bit different is that we're going to use brown sugar instead of white sugar, and that's gonna make the cookies a little bit chewier, and it's gonna be a better base for the chunks of chocolate. Although you can use chips if you want, but come on, more chocolate. Okay, so the ingredients. You're going to use 3 cups of white flour. You're going to use a tablespoon of vanilla. You're going to use a teaspoon of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Remember, baking soda is the active ingredient inside of baking powder, so this is a lot stronger than this. So you want a lot of this, it has leavener, and then this a little bit, so it kind of beefs it up. So a little bit of these. A teaspoon and 1/4 teaspoon. And then you'll go for a full teaspoon of salt. Kosher salt is nice because it's nice and thick, but you can use normal salt if you want. This just adds savory to the sweet, and it really pumps the punch up of the cookie. So a little bit of salt. You'll go for a cup of butter, so 2 sticks. And you'll go for 2 eggs. I have right here, so 2 eggs. And then in this recipe, we're going to use brown sugar instead of granulated sugar to make the cookies extra chewy. So we'll go for a full cup of brown sugar. And then, of course, chocolate. So we have a lot of chocolate here, but then again, these are chocolate chunk cookies. This is chocolate that's left over from a failed fondue, which is a perfect time to use it in baking. So this is just some melted down chocolate, and then it's been cut up. So dump it into a bowl and get yourself a whisk, and then just whisk your flour a little bit. That just gets some air in there. And then we are going to add our baking powder, our baking soda, and our salt to this mix, and we're just going to whisk it together so that it is evenly combined, and that's really all there is to it. So that's your dry, and then we're going to mix another bowl with the wet, and we're going to put them together. Okay, so now you're going to cream the butter, either with a hand mixer or a stand mixer if you're lucky enough to have one of those. Just go on a low speed, and start mixing that butter up, and start to mix in your brown sugar, and then start to cream that together. So it'll be about 2 minutes before it gets nice and light and fluffy. Alright, so now to this, we're going to add the eggs, one at a time. So we'll get an egg here, and add that in. And then we will add the second one once this one is blended. Egg number 2. Go ahead and take your vanilla and add that in. Then when you have that all mixed together and it looks nice and wet like that, you're done with your wets. So it's time to add in the dries, mix them together, and have a whole batter. I like to add it in kind of a third at a time. So just go ahead, shake in maybe a third of it or so, incorporate that, and then add in each third. It just makes it easier to mix. Add in another third. Okay, and then add in the last third of your dry. And mix it together, and you'll have the full dough. Okay, so now that you have your dough already, the last and most amazing thing to do is to add the chocolate, of course. So we have tons and tons and tons of that, as you can see. And you can add less if you want to pretend that you don't like chocolate. So get your half-sheet baking tray and line it with a silicone baking mat. If you don't have one of these, you can use parchment paper. But if you do have one of these, I'm using the Cuina Silicone Baking Mat. If you do have one of these, they're amazing. They replace parchment paper. They're completely non-stick. Your cookies will just slide right off, and they are really cool. So anyway, use 1/4 a cup. And really mount it up there, and just make sure you're giving a big, generous helping on the cookies, because nobody wants a pitiful cookie. Not when you're going this far with the chocolate. So get a big, generous 1/4 a cup, and you can just mound it into balls, and make sure you save a little bit of space just around each cookie, an inch or two, just so that they don't melt into each other. But, you know, you're going for extravagant, so you got a lot of chocolate, and you're not going to hold back on this one. So make sure they're nice, big, full 1/4 a cup cookies, and you could probably get around 12 of them on a half sheet. Then you're just going to get these cookies into the oven, and it's 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're going to want to put them in there for about 9 to 10 minutes. So about 10 minutes later, magic and chocolate. Oh wait, same thing. Remember, let them cool down for about 5 minutes. That actually lets them firm up and finish themselves. They've cooled down for about 5 minutes, and you can see if you're using one of these baking mats, they're really easy to take off. And there you have it, a chocolate wonder. And you can just see it's kind of getting ridiculous over here.